For years, I have been pleading, begging MLS to release more content. I mean, this is my favorite league in the world, and I love watching the games, but I need more.
And we used to have more. Years ago, we had The Movement, we had MLS Insider, we had MLS 360. All of these series were amazing. And all of these series helped me fall in love with this league and helped me grow attached to the players and the storylines of this league. And then we just stopped getting these features. And all I can do is just rewatch the old episodes over and over and over again on YouTube.
But now, MLS is in a new era. Year 3 of the $2.5 billion Apple TV deal. And we've gotten some content. I mean, Breakaway is great, and the player features are cool, but it hasn't been enough for me. But now, we finally have a new show. ONSIDE, Major League Soccer, made from the same producers of Formula One's Drive to Survive. This is going to be my full review. I'm going to tell you the good, and unfortunately, the one really, really big problem I have with it. But in short, this show is pretty damn awesome. And honestly, I'm not surprised. Because while I might criticize MLS for not having enough content, the content that they do put out, generally speaking, is always really high quality and really interesting. And this show absolutely lived up to the hype. I mean, the visuals, the camera work, the interviews, it's all top notch, and it was all expected for me. But the thing that got me hooked was the storytelling. Oh, they knocked this out of the park. And yes, you could criticize that a lot of the episodes are a little formulaic, like, okay, you get introduced to points, you get showed why it's important, you have this build-up, but then the episode finishes off with a big game at the end. I think like 5 or 6 episodes had this same exact formula. But honestly, I don't really mind that, because the show did a really good job of showcasing a lot of different viewpoints. Like, it's not just 8 episodes of messy lore. The show actually covers a lot of different topics.
So let's go ahead and just run through these 8 episodes. And I mean, I don't think I gotta say spoiler alert, because I mean, I'm only gonna be covering the basics here, and like, I'm not gonna be ruining anything. And I'm telling you, you're gonna want to watch these 8 episodes because they're all really good.
The first episode's all about the season opener for the LA Galaxy as they host Inter Miami. The story that they spin here is that this is the old school dynasty versus the new school dynasty. Like, it used to be the Galaxy who had all the star power. And while they do still occasionally sign the mega superstar, they're now much more focused on building from within. While Inter Miami have taken the title of super team, with them signing damn near half of all of Barcelona. And I gotta say, this episode really highlights their ability of creating a narrative that you actually care about. Plus, the scene with Ricky Pooch eating a barbecue is relatable, because it's like, oh yeah, turns out he is a human that exists out of this game, and he even likes to cook out. Seems like a cool guy to hang out with. Episode 2 highlights the Hell is Real Derby, and the winner of this one for me is Cincinnati head coach Pat Noonan. Just hearing him swear every other word in training is so funny. I feel like all of us have had at least one coach in our lives that was like that.
This is you, and then this is how you fucking answer.
Also, Matt Miazga, just as much of a hothead as he comes off as on TV. I love when Noonan is basically begging Miazga to shut up so he doesn't get a second yellow card.
Matt! No! What the fuck? What is he doing?
Episode 3 might be my favorite episode of the entire series. It's about Kevin Sullivan and his saga of becoming the youngest player in MLS history. I really like how it doesn't just glaze him for the whole episode and, treat him like a god. I love that it brings up the comparisons of Freddie Adu and how easy it is to overhype someone. You also get to see this from the perspective of the coaching staff, who are in a really tough point in their season. Like, this is the worst year that they've had in over a decade. And they have to make this decision. They got to decide if playing a 14-year-old is really in the best interest of their season, if he's going to offer them the best chance to win. And it's captivating because you could feel the pressure of the coaching staff of not wanting to screw this season up. Also, oh my God, the scene of Kevin Sullivan asking his brother to help take off his watch is so perfect. Like, that is such a 14-year-old thing to do. It doesn't matter if he's a professional soccer player, if, he's the future of the sport. The fact that he needs his brother to help take off his watch, it's instances like that really humanize people, and it reminds us that he's still just a kid. For me, it's probably the funniest part of the whole entire series. And we go from the funniest part of the series to maybe the saddest part. Episode 4 is all about the downfall of St. Louis City. How they had this magical inaugural season to a season where nothing has gone right. It really focuses on Tim Parker here, and again, the human element is just so strong here because at the end, you just feel so bad for the guy. Like, there's this part where he's coming to terms about being an MLS journeyman, like this is his 4th team already, and he's talking about how he's jealous of players who just get to stay in one spot in their entire career, and that's kind of his dream now with St. Louis. And after such a great first season, a year where he not only scored the first goal in team history, but he also became like the anchor of the back line, it's looking like that's finally going to happen for him. And so he buys a house and he, has a kid and everything's looking great, but then he gets traded to New England. And then the scene at the end of the episode, it's just so heartbreaking because he's in Boston and he's FaceTiming his wife and his kid who are still living in St. Louis. Like, yeah, this guy has my dream job. He's a professional athlete. He's making money playing soccer, and yet, you still feel so bad for him as he has to go through all this. Like, a lot of times with athletes, you forget that they're human, that they have a life and struggles outside of the sport they play, and this series does an amazing job of highlighting that aspect. Oh, and the scene of George Brett and Johnny Russell talking shit about St. Louis, that is golden.
So fuck those guys.
Episode 5 is about the Hudson River Derby, and unfortunately this one missed the mark for me. This is definitely my least favorite episode of the entire series because I just think it was filled with missed opportunities. Like, okay, so the episode starts off in a barber shop and, some of the guys are just shooting the shit about sports and someone brings up soccer. And then all the guys start laughing about it and saying, soccer? Oh, what are you talking about? And the point that they make is that New York is such a big city, such a great sports city, but for some reason, Major League Soccer hasn't really taken off yet. And, that's a really interesting point. Why hasn't New York City FC or New York Red Bulls been able to capture the love of New Yorkers? And then they do nothing with it. Like, they go on about talking about John Tolkien, how he wants to be an icon, and then they talk about Malachi Jones about being a rookie and how this is his big moment to shine. That's cool and all, but what I really wanted to know more about was how they wanted to elevate the status of soccer in New York. They just didn't really explore that. And then they show this injury to Malachi Jones, and it's this devastating broken leg injury, and it just looks absolutely brutal.
So, true story. When I was in college, I ran on the track team. I ran hurdles for EIU. And sophomore year, I was in practice, and I fell, and I fucked up my knee. Tore my PCL, and instantly out for the season. And you can ask anyone who has suffered a season-ending injury, especially if it's a sport that they love and they're really passionate about, you go through some dark times. Like, it is not just about getting into rehab and getting back in shape. Like, no, you start questioning everything. You start wondering if you are ever going to get back into the shape that you were before the injury. And for me personally, when I suffered that injury, it was one of the toughest parts of my life.
And then all they do is show a short montage of him doing rehab. Like, him doing rehab exercises, that's not interesting. I don't care about that. I want to know what he's thinking about, what he's going through, what it's like watching his teammates play, and meanwhile, he just has to sit on the sideline. But instead, we get none of that. And like, yeah, maybe Malachi Jones just like isn't great on camera. Maybe he's just not interesting, but you can't tell me they couldn't get anything else out of him. And also, this episode, it was only 34 minutes long. This was the shortest episode of the series. Other episodes were 40 plus minutes. Like, you can't tell me, oh, they just ran out of time on this one. There's no way I'm buying that. Episode 6 is all about the summer transfer window. And this episode's a little bit different because while most episodes focus in from the player's perspective or the coach's perspective, here we see it from the front office's perspective. This episode zeroes in on the transfer of Marco Royce, and I love that we get to see it from both sides. The side that fell short in signing him, Charlotte FC, and the side that was ultimately successful in signing him, the LA Galaxy. And this episode, again, is just a really great example of how this show really covers all angles. Episode 7 is all about the downfall of Atlanta United, and they show Gonzalo Pineda talking about the pressure of possibly being fired, and of course, he actually does get fired. I really like the scene of him in the locker room and Pineda's freaking out. I know he's not the only coach ever to freak out, and I know it's not like we've never seen footage of something like this before, but this particular clip where he's yelling about, oh, talent isn't good enough, and he's kicking the bag, like, okay, that's a man who is desperate and who does not have an answer. Like, it's just fascinating to see. And after he gets let go, we get to see Rob Valentino taking over and getting his perspective. The one of the interim coach taking over. Now, that's really interesting too, because watching it, I don't know, it almost seems like he felt a bit guilty because he felt bad for Gonzalo Pineda or something. Obviously, his coaching tenure didn't last long because he was replaced by Ronnie Dyla this season, but seeing Rob Valentino have his moment against Inter Miami, that was so satisfying. And then episode 8, the finale. It kind of comes full circle here because the first episode was about the LA Galaxy. Now this episode's about the LA Galaxy. And the scene of Ricky Pooch crying into Greg Vanney's shoulders after the conference final saying, oh, I did my leg.
I did my knee.
Oh, God, it just pulls on the heartstrings. Like, obviously, I wish that injury never happened, but since it did, I'm so glad they got this shot because it's just so raw. The rest of the episode's all about the MLS Cup. It's exactly what you'd expect, but it's still really interesting and a fun watch. Unless you're a Red Bulls fan.
Now, I really do hope they have a second season of this. Because while they did cover a lot, there is still so much more that they did not cover. Like, they didn't even touch the Sounders and the Timbers, Cascadia Cup, the oldest soccer rivalry in this country. That would be an epic episode. They could also follow a really crappy team, a team that's been trashed for so many years, maybe my Chicago Fire, see what that mentality is like and explore why they keep losing. They could talk about the CONCACAF Champions Cup, they could talk about the Leagues Cup. Like, honestly, the amount of topics that they can touch on this show is truly endless. I am really happy with how this show turned out. Like, if I'm being completely honest and objective, even with the 5th episode, the one I didn't rate very high, even taking that into consideration, overall, I'm giving this show a solid 9.2. I I thought it was great. I really enjoyed it. And I think every MLS fan would enjoy it. And I think it could also make a lot of people who aren't fans into fans. Like, it was that good. But there's one thing that ruins everything. One thing I gotta bring up. Because even though I just praised the hell out of the show, let's be honest, most of you guys probably aren't gonna watch it. Because it's not even on MLS Season Pass.
In fact, the only reason why I did watch it is because my wife signed up for a free trial to Apple TV Plus to watch a different show. And now that she's done with that show, we're canceling Apple TV Plus. I don't get it. What's the strategy here of not putting this show about MLS on MLS Season Pass? I get that they want more Apple TV Plus subscribers, but I mean, do they think that they're just going to get this like massive boost in subscribers because all the MLS fans that want to see the show will dish out, what, $79 for an extra streaming service?
What?
Like, instead, give your fans, the ones most likely to watch this, give them a reason for staying on MLS Season Pass. Why is it so hard to have it on both Apple TV Plus and MLS Season Pass? Just like Messi Meets America, which, hey, by the way, still haven't watched that one, even though I absolutely would if it was on MLS Season Pass. Hosting this show only on Apple TV Plus, that is just so stupid. You are limiting your audience so much here. Like, I can understand if the show is only on Netflix, the biggest streaming service in the world, but it's on Apple TV Plus, which, according to this list, is only the 12th biggest streaming site in the world. Host this show on MLS Season Pass, and all of the ads, every single one of them, should be about different Apple TV Plus shows. You are much more likely to convince me to purchase another streaming service if I see multiple different interesting shows, rather than saying, hey, here's that one thing you are going to be interested in behind yet another paywall.
And I don't know if it's Apple making these decisions or MLS making these decisions, but whoever it is, stop it. Like, stop it. Seriously, why are you making it so hard for fans to become invested in this league? It's ridiculous. Like, again, I want to emphasize, this show was great. It was really great. It's the best content MLS has put out in years, and yet a ton of people are going to miss out on it simply because it's on Apple TV Plus and not on MLS Season Pass. And it's like, why don't they even advertise for it on MLS Season Pass? Like, you're just making it hard for yourselves. It doesn't make sense. And you want to know how I know not a lot of people are watching this show? Well, how many other people do you see reviewing this show on YouTube?